The invasion of Israel. Bible prophecy and biblical interpretation have come a long way in the past 40 years. I grew up reading the works and research of many great men of God, which certainly had an influence on how I viewed end-time events. At times, I would just take things for granted, or just assume that someone was right on how they saw things. But as I got older, and started my own research, and I began to put everything together, somehow things just were not meshing. If you are a student of Bible prophecy, like I am, you have probably heard a number of end-time theories and scenarios. Many seem plausible. But again, they don't always seem to totally fit into the scheme of things. As I said earlier, space just did not permit a detailed examination, so I have been relegated to just providing an overview of things. Throughout this book, I have tried to give various alternatives for different aspects of prophetic events, rather than concretely saying that this is the way it is. The writings of Ezekiel, Daniel, and Revelation are a collection of very mysterious writings, and Daniel is specifically, because of its concept of using dual prophecy. In pooling the resources together that I have been slowly developing a picture to provide a sort of chronology of end-time events. As a child, when I would be in church listening to ministers talking about the Antichrist and the last days, I always wondered how all that could be possible, how the world could ever be brought to the place where one man could exercise so much authority over it. When I found out about the Illuminati, that seemed to answer all my questions. However, the ensuing research actually created more questions, because the direction it seemed to take veered away from the traditionally held views of Bible prophecy. I actually considered stopping here, rather than taking the chance of compromising this entire body of research, but, being a writer, I have to bring everything to its logical conclusion. So, here we go. The Antichrist is revealed. I am Antichrist, I am Antichrist, I know what I want, I know how to get it, I want to destroy. From a song by the Sex Pistols, a punk rock band. Daniel 9:27 says that the Antichrist will confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. Obviously, to do this, he would have to be in a position of authority to do it. As of this writing, although Europe is as united as it has ever been, talks aimed at drafting a constitution have broken down. Therefore, Europe as a truly unified political entity does not yet exist. It is believed that the Antichrist's rise to power will be through that government. Will he be the one that will actually make it happen? Revelation 17:12 says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast." So, with the resources of a united Europe behind him, he would definitely have a political base from which to operate from diplomatically. According to Daniel, his power shall be mighty, 8:24, and he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, 8:25. The success he will achieve in Europe will no doubt give him international recognition. In Daniel 11:7, it says, "And power was given him over all kindreds, and tongues, and nations." This seems to imply a larger scope of authority. Is it possible that he will become the Secretary General of a UN that has been transformed into a world government, due to the efforts of the New World Order? How else would he be in a position to exercise authority over such a large group of people? The Middle East has been a powder keg for many years because the Arab nations, Esau's descendants, feel they had their birthright taken away by Israel, Jacob's descendants. A covenant is made with many for a week, or 7 years. Because the second part of that verse talks about causing the sacrifices to stop, which is an obvious reference to the reinstitution of temple sacrifices Jerusalem, it has been assumed that the covenant was just made with Israel. How can just Israel be referred to as many? The terminology dictates that the covenant would have to be made with many nations, and it would have to be nations somewhat associated with Israel. This would seem to be a covenant between the Antichrist, leader of the world government, Israel and the Arab nations, in order to seek a peaceful solution to the Middle East crisis. Somehow he will achieve a diplomatic solution that will give the Arabs what they want, and give the Jews the security they want, which will enable them to build or erect a temple on its original foundation, so that temple sacrifice can be resumed. Even though there were 300 specific predictions concerning Jesus, the Jewish people didn't accept him because they were expecting a great conqueror to deliver them from the Romans. However, it won't take long for this Western European leader to be heralded as the Messiah they have been waiting for. The aim of a world government will be to seek complete disarmament in order to maintain peace. Any country that does not willingly join in will be forced to comply, as it says that he shall destroy wonderfully. Meanwhile, the individual who has emerged as the preeminent religious leader in the world will succeed in bringing together the major religions to form a new coalition of Christianity that will be bound together with New Age philosophy. To legitimize his claim of being called by God to lead the church, he will use his mastery of the occult to give the illusion of being able to perform miracles. Revelation 13:13-14, in the midst, or 3.5 years, of the covenant. It seems that diplomacy was not enough to bring lasting peace to this region. In Daniel 11:40, we find a conflict between the king of the north and the king of the south. Chapter 11:42-43 in historical perspective, dual prophecy, leads us to believe that the king of the south will be Egypt. The king of the north has been identified as Syria, and it is believed that this is the country that the Antichrist will come out of. This conflict is identified as the vehicle through which the Antichrist gains control of the nations, 10 horns, of the old Holy Roman Empire. Well, that's one scenario. You have to ask yourself, why would Egypt attack Syria? Since signing a peace treaty with Israel, Egypt has been involved in any armed conflicts. If anything, I could see Syria, who has been very militant, attacking Egypt because of their treaty with Israel. More important, Syria is a small country, and does not have the military capability to do all that is being attributed to it. Anyway, I think that the king of the north is referencing Western Europe. After the 10 kings received their power, they were as one mind. Revelation 17:13, therefore, as one unified nation, they could be referred to as a king. And the nations of the Roman Empire are north. Who is the king of the south actually attacking? Daniel 11:40 doesn't really say that the king of the south is attacking Israel. As I said earlier, Egypt does have a treaty with them. Of course, that could be broken. However, the passage seems to indicate that the king of the south is attacking the king of the north. Apparently the European Federation will have a protectionary force, peacekeepers, in place in the Middle East, and this is who the attack will be directed at. The king of the north will then respond with a major ground and naval offensive. However, in the process of putting down this rebellion, many countries shall be overthrown. Daniel 11:41. It is stated that Edom, Moab, and Ammon will not be affected. Ironically, they, along with the Israelites, Arabians, Ishmaelites, and Midianites were the descendants of Arphaxad, the son of Shem, the middle son of Noah. Their land was on the eastern shore of the Dead Sea, in an area now occupied by the country of Jordan. It is logical to assume that the countries involved will be Arab countries, especially in light of the fact that he moves on the country of Egypt and takes spoils. Daniel 11:42, at this point, Libya and Ethiopia come to the aid of Egypt. It is apparent by this time that since Egypt had broken the covenant, all bets are off, as the European military force has responded with extreme prejudice. This upheaval in diplomacy now creates an unstable condition worldwide as an aura of war is manifested. Daniel 11:44-45 says, "But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him, therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy, and utterly to make away many. And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. He will withdraw from Egypt, killing as many people as he can, before doubling back to Jerusalem." This is the beginning of the end.